This week on the Navigating Personal Growth podcast.
We're so excited to have Chris here today. We share a very similar backstory in that we both had starts out of our garages. So, hey, navigators, welcome to the Navigating Personal Growth show. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today with my special guest, Chris Romulo. Did I do it?
That was a great roll.
I was trying to roll my R's, so hopefully I got it and did it right. So hopefully that worked out really well. We're so excited to have Chris here today. We share a very similar backstory in that we both had starts out of our garages. So Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So where do I start? I'm a professional Muay Thai boxer, a retired professional Muay Thai champion. I've been in the martial arts for 40 years. I'm a husband and a father. I used to own and operate a gym. I'm also an author, and now I'm a coach and speaker. So trying to balance it all.
I love that. Okay, so tell me what Muay Thai is that it's different than okay, my son does jujitsu. So how is Muay Thai different? What is Muay Thai?
So jujitsu is like a ground fighting, like it's like wrestling. Yeah, there you. I'm sure you've seen your son wrestling around on the ground. So Muay Thai is all stand up. You're on your feet. It's like boxing, except you use your feet, your knees, and your elbows too. So
okay, I like it. All right, cool. So Muay Thai.
It hurts a lot.
Yeah, I don't think martial arts was for me, but my son really likes it, so it's a thing. So you are from Queens, and you're in Jersey now.
Jersey,
New Jersey.
Jersey.
And
Jersey
so you're a coach. Tell us what kind of coach you are.
So I think of myself as a resilience coach. I mean, obviously, I still teach Muay Thai. I still practice it myself, but I really, right now, my passion or my mission in life is to help others through what I've learned in the ring, right? How to battle through adversity, setbacks, and challenges with what I call the champion mindset, right? And the champion mindset, it's not just about, toughing your way through things. There's actual process to develop that mindset. So yeah, I would say that's what I'm working on.
Okay, tell me more, because I want to know if I have this champion mindset. So how does that start? How do you start? Are there 3 steps? I'm all about some bullet points,
All right. So yeah, actually, let's jump right into it. I actually have what I call the ACT framework. It stands for, it's A.C.T. And what I say when it comes to dealing with challenges, you want to implement this ACT framework. So for instance, there were many times in my life where I had to use this. In particular, one of the first moments was when I was, a kid, a young knucklehead, running the streets of Queens. I was, trying to, let's say I was trying to make a name for myself, but not in the most productive ways.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I found myself in a street fight that I should have avoided, but I didn't. And I got beat up pretty bad. And that's literally the first time I remember using what I call this ACT framework, which was stands for accepting your reality, right? Accepting what's in front of you right now and not trying to point fingers, blame, or complain. Just say, okay, this is what's happened to me.
Yeah.
Now what, right? What do I do to move forward? The second part of that is challenging your limiting beliefs. Right. At the time, I just thought I was just going to be, again, this lost and confused kid running the streets because that's kind of what I grew up watching. But I said, okay, what can I do to make sure that's not going to become my life, my reality? I knew I was geared up for something more than just what I had in front of me. And then the last thing was to take aligned action, or just take action. Instead of sitting there again complaining and ruminating about the mess that I got myself in, I said, okay, what's the one small step, or what are the small consistent things I can do on a daily basis to make sure I'm not heading in that undesirable direction that I was heading?
Yeah. Okay. So this aligned word, I just recorded a podcast. It hasn't dropped yet, but by the time our episode comes out, it will have come out. So I've always been a girl talking about work-life balance and creating balance. And then I've decided that I'm abandoning the balance word. And I think alignment's where it's at. I don't think balance is what exists, because I think there are busy seasons. You said you're a father. So how old are your kids or kid or kids?
So I have two sons. One is 13, and the other one he's an old guy. He's 27.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah.
when your kids were little though, like
Yeah.
there's a whole different like balance of everything that's never going to be like you're not having hobbies when you have a newborn. Like it ain't happening, You're busy. And so I just feel like as we make decisions in life, if we can have that aligned with like
Mhm.
our future version of ourself or our morals or our values or whatever the situation is you find yourself in, that's where it's at. So I love this like take aligned action because it's not like just take action. It's
Mhm.
like making sure that that's in alignment with like who you want to be, who you want to be seen as, who you believe you are, like all the things. So I love that word alignment. Okay, now I'm going to go backwards, all right?
Okay.
So here you are, you're this Muay Thai master, Chris Romulo, and I'm learning to roll my R's on the episode today. And you have told us you had a little bit of a rough start in Queens on the streets. So tell us how you got from that kid in Queens to where you are today.
Wow, that's a long up and down journey. But yeah, literally starting with that ACT framework. As a kid, when I was about 8 years old, I got into martial arts. Kind of, I guess, like we were talking before we
Yeah.
started recording. I was literally 8 or 9 years old, and my father got me into martial arts. He was a martial artist, and from about 8 years old to about 15 years old, I was on the path. I was going to be that martial arts guy. I was going to be like Bruce Lee, my idol. Unfortunately, my father gave up on martial arts. That's a whole nother story. But at about 15 is when I started getting lost. Because of
Mm.
the dysfunction that was going on at home. So to answer your question, it was just a lot of trial and error. What I call it's an ancient Japanese proverb: fall 7 times, stand up 8. So through a lot of trial
Mm.
and error, I was able to find my way, and find my bliss in life, as Joseph Campbell would say. I found my bliss, and I was able to follow that journey. Again, no matter how many times I've got knocked down, I said, this is what brings happiness in my life. This is what brings me what I call anabolic energy to keep building and keep growing, and not just growing things outside of me, but more so inside of me, right? That internal strength. So yeah, I would say that's been the journey of just trial and error and finding your passion, right? I think that's what a lot of people aren't blessed with in life, right? Unfortunately, you're put in situations where you do the things that you're supposed to do, but what about your dreams and your goals that also
Mm.
keep you alive and keep you feeling like, all right, this is my another Japanese term is ikigai, right? Your
Yes.
purpose.
Oh, I know that one.
Oh,
I know
nice.
that one
Yeah.
because I watched the Netflix series about like the blue zones and like
Oh,
the people that live the longest
yes.
around the world. And one of the blue zones, it was like find your ikigai, which is like your
Mm,
purpose, your calling. Like, why are you here? And I'm like,
right.
I know my ikigai. See, I'm already headed to being
Nice.
100. I got this. Like Sanitarian bound.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's the martial arts spirit in you right there. Because
Yes, that's right.
yeah, I love it. No, I mean that term, I came across it. I mean, I guess a couple of years ago, and it just really resonates, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, a lot of people aren't. I wouldn't say lucky enough, but maybe they're not. It's not in their awareness. It's not in their frame of reference to say, all right, what is my passion? What can I get paid for? What can I do to help other people, but also make a living?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I love that. So, okay. So you were doing martial arts, and you had a kid and he's 27. So were you doing martial arts while he was little, like your dad was doing when he was little? Or like, how did that translate across the generations? Is that something you've passed on?
Well, all right, that's the bumpy road right there. So no regrets. I had my son when I was 23, and I had already been involved in Muay Thai. I had
Yeah.
my first ring fight already, where officially made that jump into the world of fighting.
Ugh.
Yeah, yeah, it's scary. It's definitely scary. I always look back and I think, man, why'd I do that?
Did you
But
win?
yes, I did. I was lucky enough to win my first bout. So yes.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
So then I guess a year or a couple years later, I had my son, and obviously I was like, okay, my dream is going to have to be put on hold for now because there's something more important
Yeah.
than just chasing my dreams.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
I grew up, even though my father lived in the house, he wasn't a stable father figure. And,
Mhm.
having that history and knowing that, okay, knowing what it felt like to not have your father guide you or be a part of your life emotionally or psychologically, I told myself, like, I want to make sure that I'm not keeping that cycle going on in my family,
Mm.
because unfortunately my grandfather was not so much a part of my father's life. So I said, okay, I'm going to break this cycle. And yeah, I did everything that I could to be the best father that I could, but things that's where things started going haywire. I guess not chasing my dream made me feel like I was missing something, like there was a void. Even though I
Mm.
wanted to raise my son the best way that I could, I knew I had to get back to martial arts because that's what literally saved my life at one point in my
That's
life.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That the you're talking about like this is what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing and this is what I was doing, and like I think that goes back to alignment, that we were
Mm.
talking about. It's that alignment, like learning how do I figure out to make decisions to be aligned with like who I am, like deep down, not just on the surface, but like what I'm like genuinely called to do. And I think that makes a huge difference in our lives, as we progress, because I think the God and the universe and Mother Earth and everything works in our favor when we are living in alignment with like who we are and who we're supposed to become.
Absolutely agree. And because of not chasing my dream at that time, I didn't show up properly at home. And
Yeah,
so my family was being affected. So I knew if I wanted to be a better human being, a better father, better son, better husband, I needed to do something to build me up, right? If you want a
right.
better
Yeah,
world, become a better you is
that's
what
good.
yeah,
That's
that's the
good,
thought I've
Chris.
always, yeah, absolutely. So that energy, I talk about energy a lot because I believe energy runs our life, right? There's anabolic energy, life building energy, but then there's also catabolic energy, draining energy that breaks us down. And by not chasing my dream, I had a lot of catabolic energy going on.
Spell that catabol. I've never heard this.
Okay, it's
Is it CAD? Okay,
CATA. C
CATA, catabolic. Yeah, I got the bolic part.
catabolic. Yeah.
I've heard about anabolic, but catabolic energy, that's
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah. I
Oh, I'm over
mean,
here taking notes.
all right, awesome. I'm good. I mean,
Uh,
that's all I'm here to do, right? Hopefully share
share,
something that
that's right.
anybody can pick up.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
catabolic energy. So that's the energy that drains you and then keeps you from being in alignment, right? Am I like
Mhm.
restating that well?
Yeah,
That's good.
absolutely.
That's
Spot on.
good.
Keeps you from, what I say, chasing your dreams, chasing your mission, your purpose, your ikigai.
So where was that turning point for you? Like you seems like you've like done a lot of work on yourself to realize like here's where I didn't show up. Here's where I wasn't the best version of me. And that's really hard to admit. That's really hard. That's something a lot of people never get to. But like
Mhm.
you got to that point, you realize, okay, I'm not being who I want to be and showing up how I want to show up, but now you are in life. So
Mhm.
what happened in the middle of like having your first kid, having your second kid? Like what was that switch? Was it martial arts that did it for you?
Well, yeah, the martial arts is what saved me again, but unfortunately, like a lot of people in life, we all need to hit rock bottom at some
Mm.
points in our lives to let us know that change, it's inevitable, right? We can't just stay stuck in our ways. And I would say I was in a comfort zone in that previous relationship that I had with my son's mother. And I'm not blaming anybody around me. I take full ownership for the fact that I wasn't showing up as the dad that I wanted to be, or the partner that I wanted to be. So that was the absolute turning point, that I was
Mm.
not only not feeling anabolic myself, but I was causing catabolic energy, or spreading catabolic energy to those around me that mattered. And I knew that if I didn't take ownership and responsibility for that, my life would, who knows where I'd be right now.
Chris, I'm telling you, like to get to a place where you can say, not only were you not creating what you wanted to, but
Mm,
then that you are also causing negative to happen. Like that's huge. That is huge personal awareness that I feel like is lacking in our media drenched society,
mm,
because so many times we start to learn how to just point the finger, we as a culture, not necessarily
right.
like we as me and you, but like that's somebody else's fault. They didn't give me the opportunity. They
Mhm.
didn't give me this. We got to turn that right back here and figure out how am I
Absolutely.
going to create those opportunities and be the person that, it is what is needed, desired, hoped for, longed for, could be, whatever that is at that moment. So I was listening to a book recently and she's talking about this concept of, like in relationships. So sometimes we get so in love with the potential of what could be that we never stop and see what the reality of is what
Mm,
is.
wow.
Isn't that good? So, like,
Yeah.
you start to tell yourself stories in your head. Like, for example, like, let's say you have a partner. I was divorced 3 times in my 20s. So, like, I have a
Mm,
messy 20s because I was trying to follow a timeline and be something that wasn't what was meant for me. I was trying to force it, and that was not what was meant for me. And so, but like, if I think about the stories I told myself, well, like, he's only drinking that much because, or what if you just accepted reality of the way things were? I feel like we would get to this place of like acknowledgement and alignment a lot faster, but it's hard. It's painful. And then she goes on in the book also talking about, so it's Mel Robbins in the book Let Them. So if you haven't read
mhm,
it, highly recommend it. We'll link it in the show notes too. But she talks also in the book about, you were talking about how everyone has to hit rock bottom. And she talks about how, okay, in order to make like a healthy change, whether it's like your health, your weight, your career, you're a drug addict, you drink too much, like whatever it is you want to change about your life, that has to become more painful than the choice to be better. So like your relationship had to become more painful than it was to leave the relationship or repair yourself, right? And so until that person, like for an addict, the drug addiction has to be so bad and you have to feel the effects of it. Not somebody rescuing you, not somebody paying your bills, not somebody. You have to feel it in order to get to a place that we want to make change. And I thought that was so interesting because I'd never really thought about it that way. But we have to experience like the consequences of our good or bad actions. And then that helps us to get to that place where we can get to our ikigai. So that's good
Yeah.
stuff. That's
Oh
good
yeah.
stuff.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Like it's what you're saying is it's an internal understanding, right? I mean, we can
Yeah.
get all these external, like family, intervening and telling us, oh, you need to change your life. You need to become a better father or a better, husband. But ultimately, what it comes down to is I call it the champion spirit. We all
Mm.
have a champion spirit. We're born with it. But unfortunately, through life, the things that people say, the things that people do to us make us forget, right? But we all have it within us. It's just that uncovering and saying, okay, I can take ownership. I can take responsibility for the world I want to create. I don't want to keep blaming because what's that going to do? I'm giving away my power when I blame. I have the
Oh,
power.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good because, like, excuse me, you talk about energy. That's an energy transfer.
Hmm.
So when you start giving away your power and you're knowing and what you know that you should be doing and giving that to someone else in whether you're listening to their voice in your head or like whatever it is and start blaming or all the things, that's an energy transfer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You get
That's
the energy. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. All right. So you figured out in this relationship that you were the catabolism problem. I don't even know. I made that word up. Does that sound good?
No, no,
You were the catabolic villain here. Okay. So then what happened? You acknowledged it, but then what?
So then I took aligned action. I got back to martial arts. I figured out, a way to make sure I was still being in my son's life every day as much as I possibly could, even though I wasn't with my son's mother anymore. I made the decision to say I'm not going to walk away. Right. I'm going to be the dad that I never had. But then I knew what saved me many times already in my life which was martial arts. As an 8-year-old, as a young knucklehead running the streets at 20 years old, I said, okay, I'm going to get back to martial arts because that's what's giving me this anabolic energy. And I ran with it. I literally got back. It was early 2000 before 9/11 hit here in New York City or in New York City. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna chase this dream with all my heart, no matter what. I'm gonna risk it all so that not only to chase, not to be selfish and chase my own dreams, but to show my son like what it means. Like when you have a dream, like you fight for it no matter what. And I was blessed to have him through, pretty much my entire fight, my fight journey, my fight career. And he watched me get knocked out cold in front of opponents, but also have the thrill of victory, winning championships, So maybe, I think about this sometimes, as a young father, I didn't have all the answers. I didn't maybe know what to say, but I know that my actions showed or taught my son a lot that he'll use in his own life.
I love that. I love that. So, are you still in the same relationship that you were with his mother, or a different relationship now?
No, I'm in a new relationship. Well,
Okay.
it's been close to it'll be 15 years now.
Oh,
Coming up in June.
yeah.
Yeah,
Love
yeah,
that. All
yeah.
right. And so then your younger son's 13, right?
Yes.
So has he ever seen you fight, or were you retired by then?
No, I was retired by then, but it's funny. We joke about it. I just turned 50. Well, I'll be 51 this year. I joke around about, coming out of retirement for one more, just so he can
Just
experience
so
it.
he
But
can see
yeah,
it. Yeah.
it's mostly
Yeah.
a joke. It's 60% joke, 40% real.
I mean, but just if you could, the moment right now. So are you coaching competitive athletes that are in the ring right now? Are you coaching like recreation people that are like doing Muay Thai to learn?
Well, now my mission is to not just coach fighters. I since we closed the gym, I've taken a step back from coaching fighters. But when I say coach, I want to coach
Life coaching, like
life.
life and
Yeah,
okay, okay, all
absolutely,
right.
absolutely.
Yes, I think I got the two confused there. Okay, yeah. So you're doing life coaching now. So
Or I like
this
to think of it as resilience coaching.
resilience coaching.
People that are
Yes.
going through rough times, and understanding that this is part of the journey. How can I use this, this rough time or this rock bottom or this setback as my comeback?
So my friend Sarah and I, that we work out together 4 mornings a week, and she has this theory that our souls come to Earth in what she calls Earth School.
Mm,
And so she's like, I feel like that everything we learn here on Earth is preparing us for the next journey after Earth. And
mm,
I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? But like you're talking about, like to fully mature as a human, as a soul, it requires the hard stuff, the tragedies, the stuff that you need to build the resilience in, and that is so rough and so hard. Like it truly is, and it's not anything that anyone wants to experience. But I think when I started doing the podcast and doing the show, the main driving factor was I just wanted people to feel less alone.
mm.
I wanted them to
Good
hear
deal.
real stories from real people where they don't have to, think that they're the only ones. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's my sweet Boston Terrier. See, he's trying to pop into the podcast. So, yeah, he probably sees the mailman or something, So,
Just
okay, we're
wanted
going
to
to take
say
a
hi.
quick break in the podcast and I'm going to do trivia in the trenches. And then we're going to come back after that. I'm going to ask you a few more questions. Okay. Are you ready?
Oh, ready to
All right,
go.
here we go. Where were scissors believed to be first invented?
Oh, oh man. I don't know the answer to this, so I'm just going to take a guess, and I'm going to say Egypt.
Oh my God, you're right. There's no way. I
I
knew
got,
you would miss this one.
I
Gosh, how
got
did you
lucky.
guess Egypt? Goodness. I mean, I feel like everything goes back to Egypt, right?
Yeah, well, that definitely that part of the world. I'm a nerd for that kind of stuff, so I got lucky. I definitely did
Oh
not
my
know.
God, that was such a lucky guess. You need to like buy some lottery tickets today or something because it's your lucky day. Like if that was just a straight guess, I was like, there's no way he's going to get this one. And you totally did. I love stumping people,
Well,
but actually, I think
I had another answer that was bouncing around in there, but I went with Egypt. That was my
What was
first.
the other one? What were you going to say for the
I
other
was
one?
going to say China.
Oh yeah, that's good
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah,
that one's good too.
yeah.
Yeah, that one's good too. Okay, so day to day, right now, what is your like? What does a regular day in your life look like for you?
So regular day, I wake up every morning and I'm prospecting for speaking gigs, like to share my champions. I
Yeah,
call it champions uprising. That's the philosophy that I live
yeah,
by, and I do my best to make sure I'm spreading that, to corporations, salespeople, HR, athletes, right? So I prospect, and well, first off, I work out in the morning. I make
yeah,
sure I'm taking care of myself. I like to think of that. Resilience is not just emotional and not just mental; it's also physical.
yeah.
And unfortunately, my in-laws and my parents are getting older, so I'm seeing them age, and that's always a reminder that we can't stop aging, but we can do our best to be proactive about this aging process.
Right. I say that all the
Yeah.
time. Like I don't work out for. I mean, I'm 40 now. I don't work out for a swimsuit body. I'm working
Mm.
out so I can get on the floor with my grandkids.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
when it's just such like a mobility thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think our parents' generation, unfortunately, we were raised in a packaged food generation where
Mm.
we were the kind of the first, generations to really not be living off the land like our ancestors had as much. And so I think the food industry, and I got a whole soapbox about that, and additives
Mm.
and preservatives and all the things have caused health conditions that have limited mobility. And so anything that we can do to reverse that, I think is huge.
Absolutely. And then the lack of physical activity, right? That I mean,
Right.
that's definitely apparent, especially with our kids now in this day and
Mhm.
age. Unfortunately, but
Right.
yeah, we can both get on our soapboxes about that. But going back to your question, yeah, and working out and prospecting and making sure that I still teach Muay Thai. Even though I
Yeah.
don't have my gym, I still coach. Young athletes and students. So yeah, that's basically the bulk of my day. And then my wife is my business partner, so we work together. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Is she what's she like? Tell us about your wife.
so I met my wife in the boxing gym. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So
Okay.
I was training for my comeback fight. It was a fight where I unfortunately got knocked out. That's the fight I was talking about where I got knocked out
Yeah.
in front of my
Yeah.
son, and I got injured, and
Mm.
I was recovering from the injury and trying to make my comeback. And one day, this girl, just walked in the gym, and I was like, "Oh, this is." She's a new face,
Yeah.
and the way she was working out, her work ethic, I was just like, she's the most beautiful professional boxer I've ever seen. And I
Oh
was
my
like, I gotta meet her.
gosh.
And after a couple exchanges, like crossing each other in the hallway or walking up the stairs, and it just so happened to be we hope happened to be walking out at the same time. We finally, this was a long time, but this was on in the MySpace days. I don't know if you remember
Oh, I
MySpace.
had a MySpace and I had a background and some
There you
music
go.
playing.
There
Yes,
you
I
go.
remember. Tom was my first friend, like,
There you
all
go.
of it. Yeah.
So I jumped in the DMs back then, and yeah,
Hey, slid into her
yeah,
DMs.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's how we met. So my wife, she's been my rock forever. She's 10 times tougher than I am,
I
and
love that.
she's
Love
my
that.
rock.
I
Absolutely.
love that. So is your son in activities? Does he do any sports or anything like that? Band, anything?
Well, when we owned the gym, yeah, he was like literally 6 days a week
Oh
training
yeah.
jujitsu, like your son, and Muay Thai.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And unfortunately, since we closed the gym, obviously his friends, we left, his team behind, I guess, so to speak. But now he's become a team sport player. He's a basketball kid. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
he's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah, so you just
he's 100 times better than I was at my
yeah. Well, he's
age.
got work ethic. That's the
Yes,
key. It's that work ethic.
absolutely.
So you've passed that on to him for sure. So like what do you do for fun that's not changing the world?
What do I do for fun? Well, just this literally over the past 4 days, we went on like a little Easter vacay. We went up to Vermont. I don't know. Have you ever been to
Okay.
Vermont?
No, I've not been to Vermont.
Vermont is literally the second least populated state in our country.
So it's
I think
beautiful.
it's beautiful. It's nature, and very few people, which I don't mind nowadays. So
Yeah.
literally just got out and, got in touch with nature. I love being, I wouldn't call myself an outdoors person, but I do enjoy it. I appreciate it now. So yeah, I would say being outdoors and,
I
you
love
know,
that.
hearing the birds and listening to streams, which is 108% different from what I grew up with.
At Queens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Queens. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I love that. Yeah, we're in Arkansas, and Arkansas is like called like the natural state. And so
Okay.
my husband and I are backpackers, like overnight hikers into the woods kind of
Oh
thing. And
wow.
we don't get to do it, but like a couple times a year typically because of our schedules. But we love it. There's just, I mean, our phones don't work
Mm.
and we take all the food in with us. And it's just like something about having that stillness, like with nature, is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, we love that for sure.
Well,
So okay.
you just inspired me because that's actually where I want to head towards, where I can
Yes.
backpack, camp out for a night, and then
Yes.
hopefully
Come
find my
back.
way back.
Yeah, yeah. We have so I don't know how Vermont is, but in Arkansas, we have a wonderful park system. And then there's great Facebook groups that help link up all the trails and the maps and all the
Mm.
things. And then we have an author here who he's devoted his whole life to writing books on all of our trails. So like I will literally copy the pages or take the book with me. And I'm like, okay, he says there's a switchback here and there's a, scenic overlook over here. And, this is a great place to camp. Then there's some apps and things that you can use these days that just make it so fun. But like I feel like nature is like the great equalizer,
Yes.
right? Like it doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter your notoriety, it doesn't matter anything you've done in your life, good or bad. Like when you're in nature, like you're just there. Like the trees don't care, the plants don't care, the animals don't care. Like it's just I don't know, it recharges me for sure. So I live in a little suburb now, and so I have little bird feeders outside and I have a little garden. And I'm like, something happens when you turn 40, you start like noticing all these things that in your 20s you had no idea there was even grass out front. So yeah, it's like a whole different thing. And I'm sure that's huge for you differently because you raised in what I call the concrete jungle,
Yes.
of New York.
Absolutely.
So
Well, it's funny. Last summer we had hummingbirds coming up to our hummingbird feeder, and
yes.
I was like completely. I was in awe. I'd never seen a hummingbird up that close, and I was just blown away. And now I can't wait. I mean, summer's coming back around here in the Northeast, or spring at least, and I can't wait for to see just a
So
hummingbird.
do you have you haven't seen one yet?
Not yet. No, no.
Okay,
It's still a little chilly here, but yeah.
I saw my
Hopefully.
first one yesterday
Oh,
for the
nice.
season. Yeah.
Nice.
I was outside putting out bird feed and I was like up on my porch, like putting all the feed in the feeders to carry out to the feeders. And one came up to the hummingbird feeder and I was like, oh, there it is. Cause I've been waiting because it's like about time, like late March, early April is usually like when they start coming to Arkansas. But this year was like a little bit later for
Mhm.
almost everybody. So I have, little bird watching friends that I talk to and we're all like, what birds have you seen? And I'm see, it's a whole thing that happens to you as you get older. You just like start noticing all the things.
The simple, beautiful things in life.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. Yes. All right. So if you weren't doing this for a living, what would you be doing? What would be your purpose? Like, would you like be, I don't know, a hairdresser, a postman, like
Mm.
something, a police officer? Like, what would you do if you weren't doing this?
I have this. I have. I've had this dream for a long time, but I had this dream of being a comedian. But I'm not funny in any way, so I feel like I would. If I was, if it was ideal, an ideal moment and an ideal life, and I could switch. Well, no. Right now, I love life. I'm grateful for everything I have. But yeah, if I could switch, yeah, I'd become a comedian.
Oh, I love that. That's so cute. So when I was young, I wanted to be an anesthesiologist, but I was like barely past chemistry in high school. And then I realized I can't see blood. Like all of that just grosses me out. And I was like, why did I want to be an anesthesiologist? I have no idea. But like I'll run into people now I haven't seen in 20 years and they're like, are you an anesthesiologist? Like apparently I talked about it all the time. I don't know. But like I cannot imagine doing that. But you have these like childhood dreams, right? And you
Yeah.
think that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
you're going to be when you grow up. So all right. Do you have any questions for me? Anything you want to ask before we wrap up the show today?
Yeah, I've never been to Arkansas. So what would you tell someone from the big city? Like what is it about Arkansas that you love?
Right. So, like I was saying earlier, like the trees, the hills, like the peacefulness, it is
Right.
so beautiful. Now, we have big populated areas. Arkansas is Walmart country. So,
Mm.
like, we are where Walmart started. So, the
Okay.
northwest part of our state is like hugely populated, has a lot more like Austin, Texas vibe, like Nashville kind of vibes. Like, there's a lot of like smaller metro areas around there. And so, it's very different than the rest of our state. And then, like, down in the south is all farmland, like Delta, like very rural.
Mm.
But if you're coming to Arkansas, like you have to go to the lakes and like
Mm.
the parks and hiking and the restaurants. Like we have, and
Mm.
unfortunately, because we are like a more rural state, a lot of them are spread out, but there's so many like mom and pops greatness all over our state that's not chain. And so I'm kind of a foodie. And so I love that, like finding places that are ran by local people. And that's just something that makes us super unique.
All right, enough said then, because I'm all about the foodies.
Yes, I like some foodies. Nothing like we'll get off a trail and get to the vehicle, and then because sometimes we'll have people like shuttle us in. They have like really good collaborative like system of shuttles in Arkansas. So like if I know I'm going in the hiking community, we'll like meet somebody and they'll shuttle us into our starting point, and like we'll leave our vehicle at the ending point of the hike. And it's probably the same in Vermont if I had to guess. But then like the first thing we want to do when we get off the trail is eat like a really great meal. So we'll go find like some like local dive place and get like some big giant cheeseburger or like something we
Right.
don't even eat in real life, but we're so hungry, like ready for real food. So, yeah,
So
but it's a lot of
what's the
fun.
burrito scene like in Arkansas? Because I'm a big burrito or
A
taco.
burrito.
Like,
Okay, so there is Mexican food everywhere, and of course,
okay.
I'm kind of picky, but like we're not too far from the border, so people
Okay.
like like people coming up from Mexico, like there's a lot of like OG kind of places here that's like
Ooh.
authentic Mexican food, and there's some great taco trucks, and so it kind of depends on what area you're in the state, but pretty much everywhere you can find like great tacos and burritos in Arkansas.
All right,
But I think
I'm
it's
in.
because of the Hispanic influence of
Yeah.
being like in South or the southern U.S. So yeah,
Okay. There you go. I
yeah.
got to work on my geography then, because I didn't realize you guys had close to the border.
Yeah, so we're right over Louisiana and like
Okay.
diagonal from Texas. Like we touch Texas, we touch Louisiana, we touch Tennessee, we touch Oklahoma, and we touch Missouri. So like we're
Okay.
like one state above the bottom. And so we're close. Like we're not too far. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you one question that I ask every person that comes on my podcast. What is one thing you've always wanted to do, but you haven't done yet?
Ooh. Um, I've always been about, well, obviously being a Muay Thai boxer, like I'm an adrenaline junkie, but I've always been scared of heights. And I always figured the best way to cure that is to go straight, face it straight on. So I would say, yeah, jumping out of a plane with a parachute.
Do it. Oh my gosh, do it. That's so exciting. I have zero desire to do that. I don't know why. Like I'm very adventurous and like I paddleboard and I like do all kinds of things and I've been scuba diving and snorkeling and like all I have no desire to jump out of a plane. Like one of my best friends, her and her daughter have done it and they loved it and like they are obsessed and want to do it again and again and again. And for me, I'm like, I'll just take your picture. Like I don't know. But I think that's so cool. So now you got to get it on the books. You
Yes,
got to do it.
I've got, well, I've got to I've got to get permission, right?
I mean, but if you
Because
went
I'm not gonna
down,
lie, 'cause
like think
my
about
yeah, my
you
wife is like, "No, you're not. You've risked your life way too many times."
okay, so I kind of get that, but
Yeah.
like at the same time, at least it's like, oh, he died skydiving. Like I don't want to be the girl that like died from the mole. Like she had a bad mole and it sure got her. Like, you know what I mean? Like at least it's
Yeah.
something cool. I don't know. Like I've always had that fear of being like, what got her? Oh, skin cancer. What? Like she didn't wear enough sunscreen? Like I don't know what's going on
You
here.
wanna go out in a blaze of glory.
Yes, I want to
Absolutely.
do like something great, or at least like she lived a really long life and she was like old as hell and gave it to us and like went out with a bang. Like I don't know, but
Right.
skydiving seems like a pretty good idea for sure. So yeah, all right. So if people are wanting to follow you, maybe they want to book you or they want to just kind of follow your journey and learn more about what you do. What is the best way for them to find you?
I would say LinkedIn or Instagram.
Okay,
LinkedIn
all
or
right.
yeah,
And
quick
what
hit.
is what's your Instagram?
It's chris.romulo.crom.
Dot what?
CROM.
What does that mean?
So that's like a JLo thing, right? C-ROM.
Okay. I like it. Okay. I like it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. All right. So we'll be sure and link that in the show notes today. And it has been so good having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
It's been fun. Thank you, Brooke. Really
Uh-huh.
appreciate the convo.
You too. Thank you. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Navigating Personal Growth podcast. I'm Brooke Plack. Join me again next week on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. This podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.